I'd argue before this not-so-little mock coaster opened, there was two obvious coasters that took the title as the best in Florida. Those were Intamin's 2021 LSM launch coaster VELOCICOASTER and RMC's new for 2022 Hyper Hybrid Iron GWAZI. Both of these attractions have been praised since the day they opened, and that hype still feels like it has not died down. VELOCICOASTER currently ranks number 5 in the world, and Iron GWAZI a couple spots higher at number 2. And I mean, that is unreal. Over thousands of coasters, these two rank within the top 5. And I mean, I can see why for both. I think both of these coasters are world-class experiences and some of my all-time favorites. Also, the way this duel will work is a win equals 1 point and a tie half a point. Quickly before I begin, feel free to share your opinion down in the comments below, as you may disagree on which coasters you prefer, or just on specific topics. With all that out of the way, it's time to begin. Starting out with everybody's favorite force, Airtime. VELOCICOASTER has world-class moments scattered throughout: Immelman, dive loop, ejector pop, top hat, wave turn, etc. Plus, VELOCICOASTER's airtime is very unique. While on most coasters, the airtime is experienced at a 0-degree angle or sometimes a little slanted, VELOCICOASTER's best airtime comes from its upside-down moments. Getting ejector while flipped upside down is a wild sensation, and I cannot get enough of it. But being honest, this category isn't even close. Iron GWAZI easily comes out on top. Stronger and more sustained moments all over the place. Ranging from sideways to upside down, Iron GWAZI does it all in the airtime department. Plus, it is home to arguably one of my top 5 favorite airtime elements ever, with that huge and sustained drop at the very end. Iron GWAZI's airtime is pure insanity and far beyond almost any other coaster out there. An easy first point for Iron GWAZI, making the score 1-0. Our next category is definitely one of the most important in my opinion: layout. Both of these rides have world-class layouts in their own different ways. Iron GWAZI starts off at 100% and ends at 100%. Every element hits just as hard as the last, making an amazing layout all around. However, VELOCICOASTER does something quite different than most coasters. The first half of the ride begins with slower, more compact elements that still give solid forces, before it transitions into sprawling and incredibly forceful elements for the second half. Both of these rides have some of my favorite layouts of all time, and it's a pretty hard decision, but after thinking on it, I have to reward Iron GWAZI with another point. Yes, it's awesome and unique how VELOCICOASTER builds on itself, but I will take a relentless layout that ends just as strong as it started any day. This makes the score 2-0 Iron GWAZI. This is where VELOCICOASTER shines. It's Inversions. But before we go to those, let's talk about Iron GWAZIs. Right off the bat, it's a little weird because I don't know if Iron GWAZI has 2 or 3 inversions, considering the part counts, well, this as an inversion. Do I disagree? Yes. And will I be counting it? No. But between the 2 inversions that are 100% real inversions, I say it's still an amazing collection. The stall is fun and floaty, but the star of the show is the death roll. Easily one of my favorite elements ever. Upside down ejector with wild laterals and a crazy sense of building up speed. The death roll is on another dimension than most coaster elements, and I'll talk about it a little more in a category later. But when it comes to VELOCICOASTER, I can't lie, it's a borderline impossible collection to beat. The upside down ejector airtime I was talking about earlier comes in clutch in this category. 3 of these 4 inversions are world class, and that stall is just okay. But like, come on, having the Mosasaurus roll alone already beats out most coasters, let alone adding probably my first or second favorite dive loop ever, and easily the best Immelman. It's just crazy to me how good this collection really is. There's no doubt in my mind VELOCICOASTER wins this category. 2-1 Iron GWAZI still in the lead. Pacing to me is the most important factor to building a world-class coaster. If you take an airtime hill too slow, it's not going to hit as hard. If you go through a transition too slowly, you're not going to get any of that whip. And really, the entire layout won't be nearly as good as it could be if you're crawling through every element. That's why B&M Hypers suck. VELOCICOASTER's pacing is weird. You start off slow, then go to like wild and non-stop. VELOCICOASTER feels like it's fastest at the very end, which is awesome, but it also feels very slow for almost half the ride. I think this really just ties into what VELOCICOASTER's trying to do, build a whole story, but it doesn't even hold a candle to Iron GWAZI's pacing. From the first drop to final breaks, it's 46 seconds of non-stop, relentless elements, and I can't get enough of it. Not a single element on this ride feels too slow. In fact, I'd argue some of the elements would hit harder if you just slowed down a little, but that's not what GWAZI is trying to do. It's trying to make you feel like your face is getting ripped off and you're not too far from death, and I love it. Iron GWAZI is home to the best pacing I've ever seen, and takes yet another point with no doubt in my mind. 3-1, Iron GWAZI. Theming is the one category where it's like, I'm not even debating this in the slightest right now. VELOCICOASTER might just be the best themed coaster in America, and top 5 probably in the entire world. The queue is next level, from animatronics to a visually stunning station, and the theming doesn't let up during the ride experience either. The first half is all about those crazy head and hand choppers with all that rock work surrounding you, and every now and then encountering a velociraptor. And yes, I will say the second half lets up on the theming for sure, but it's unneeded when you're going 70 miles per hour. Iron GWAZI, I would say, is more stylized than themed, and yes, is better than many coasters, but not even in the same ballpark as VELOCICOASTER, making the score 3-2, Iron GWAZI still in the lead. With a couple categories to go, we have to talk about the restraints of both coasters. I thoroughly enjoy VELOCICOASTER and Iron GWAZI's restraints and actually find them pretty close quality-wise. I know that might sound a little dumb, but just hear me out. On Iron GWAZI, I don't mind the lap bars being a tad uncomfortable because I always have tons of room, allowing for forces to hit much, much harder. But on VELOCICOASTER, it's the opposite. GWAZI is uncomfortable with tons of room, and VELOCICOASTER is insanely comfortable with borderline no room. The lap bars are better than GWAZI's, but since you can't leave much room between you and the lap bar, it's a pretty close comparison. So after a little bit of thinking, I came to the conclusion that Iron GWAZI will not be taking this point, and instead VELOCICOASTER will, tying up the score at 3-3. Our second to last category will go over both rides' intensity. Iron GWAZI is probably one of the 5 most intense coasters I've ever been on. Every element feels like it's trying to send me to Neptune, or it's trying to push me down into my seat until I break in half. Plus, the pacing allows for you to never get time to take a breath. Hitting the brake run on Iron GWAZI feels like you just accomplished something. It's genuinely a little relieving hitting that brake run, with a mix of, oh my gosh, that was incredible, and, oh, I made it. VELOCICOASTER is very intense at some points, and at other times, like a family coaster. It's definitely hard to judge the intensity when you have elements varying from the top hat to those little downwards S-bends. Like, come on. The entire second half is on the level of Iron GWAZI, if not just a tad below, but because the first half is so tame, I just can't give this one to VELOCICOASTER. Iron GWAZI once again takes the lead, making the score 4-3. Our last category is actually an element comparison. Of course, it's going to be the death roll versus the Mosasaurus roll. Just like my Stardust versus VELOCICOASTER video, the winner of this category gets an entire 5 points. The Mosasaurus roll is what some might call the best element in the world. And I mean, I get where you're coming from if you're one of those people. The visuals of feeling like you're going to get thrown into the water while also getting upside down ejector and laterals makes this element an out-of-body experience. Plus, since those lap bars are so open, it allows for the laterals to hit that much harder. The death roll is another element that has been raved about ever since people first experienced it. Many went straight to comparing it to the Mosasaurus roll, and I see why. 2 insane inversions with some of the wildest forces you'll ever feel. But talking about the death roll itself, just wow. The ejector is wild, and the whip is even stronger than that of the Mosasaurus roll. I was blown away every time I experienced it. Plus, the visuals are just next level. The dense wooden structure surrounding you leads to some wild head and hand choppers, taking the element above and beyond. And before I decide which is better, I want to mention how unique the sensation of going downwards while upside down at a rapid pace is. You're entering with a lot of speed already, but I mean, you have to gain a solid 20 to 30 miles per hour off of this element. Comparing these two is like comparing apples and oranges, both having their different strengths, but I ultimately decided our winner is the death roll. the intensity and visuals are just a step up from the Mosasaurus roll, earning Iron GWAZI 5 more points and making the final score 9-3, Iron GWAZI. Well, there you go. That's a wrap on Iron GWAZI versus VELOCICOASTER. How do you feel about this coaster showdown if you've been on both coasters? And if you haven't, what's higher on your bucket list? I know lots of people find this to be a much closer comparison, but I've never once had to think hard on whether I like GWAZI or VELOCICOASTER more. I'm Team GWAZI 100% of the time. And even if you aren't, I hope you still enjoyed. I have other coaster and park duels already up on the channel, so feel free to go watch those. With that being said, thanks for watching and see you next time on Express Thrills. Bye!